am Seisha. Thank you for coming back to my channel. I am a retreat leader, yoga teacher, and the founder of Thick Thigh Yoga. Today, I'm taking you behind the scenes with one of my favorite kinds of conversations, ones that build community and connection in this world of wellness that we work in. I'm here with Lance, who runs an absolutely beautiful family-owned resort in Belize, and we're talking about what it's like to host a retreat here, uh, enjoy the space itself. I've been there and it is gorgeous, right? And why Belize is such a powerful space for healing, how this location supports its guests and fellow retreat leaders, and whether you're thinking about joining us here for the amazing time we're going to have in October, or you're a retreat planner yourself looking for the right partner, you're going to want to watch the rest. Hi, Lance. Thank you so much for coming on with me today. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks, Sasha. So good to be here with you and see you again.
Thank you. Yes, and you as well. So please introduce yourself. Tell us all about Jade Jungle Resort.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Lance, originally from Utah in the United States. Grew up there and just love the outdoors and love everything to do with adventure and kind of developed a passion for health and wellness as I became an adult and we had different things happening in my family's life and just seeing how important it was to invest in ourselves and our own physical and mental well-being. And so got to a point in my career and my wife's career where we decided to make a big change and move down to Belize. And so we did that about 2.5 years ago and purchased this property with some partners. And it's been just such an incredible journey for us being here. And so the property is 300 acres of primal jungle, and we border 7,000 acres, and it's just been such a dream to be here and be supporting the economy here and the people here, hosting people who are investing in themselves and looking for healing and relaxation here in the jungle.
How would you describe the vibe of the resort for somebody who's never been there?
Oh man. I mean, it's hard to capture in words, honestly. Even in videos and pictures, it's hard to do online, but it's just like I had never experienced jungle or even nature like this before I had come here. And like our my wife and I, when we visited for the first time, we fell in love. Like I think about this moment when we walked into the meadow, and we have this 5 acre meadow that is ancient Maya farmland that's been maintained. So it's just grass, and then there's just raw, deep jungle all around it with these huge trees, and it just feels like a space that only exists in fairy tales. And you walk in there and, and you just feel like, how is this real? How am I even here? And so I think there's a lot of that, like words that people often use when they describe the property are like it's magical or it's like a fairy tale. And I totally agree with those words. The other thing that I would say is it just feels very like fresh. The air is like more clean, and then it's very alive. When I travel back to Utah, where I'm from, and I go to the city, everything just kind of feels stale and dead because there's so much life in the jungle. There's plant life, and then there's birds and animals and insects, and um, so it's just there's so much life in the jungle, and it's just an amazing place in general. I love it.
And I mean, I would agree. The spaces you're talking about are beautiful, and some of the amazing, unique features of your space that I love, like I love the space at the swing, just having those big giant trees around, and things that you've developed since I've been there. You developed more of the accommodations. You developed a platform to do yoga, do wellness classes on,
Mhm.
and the pool, right? Those videos, the pictures I've seen of that, I are absolutely gorgeous. I want to know if there is anything specific that actually inspired the design of the space.
Mm. Yeah, so my wife is she's a designer and general contractor, incredibly talented. But really she's pulling from like we're trying to do as much as we can local here and to honor the history of the property. So there was a Maya family that lived here for 300 years, and we know a lot about them because of 5 seasons of archaeological work that has been done of excavation and consolidation. And so tons of artifacts, literally thousands of artifacts that have been pulled out. So we know a lot of the history of that family, and we know a lot of how the Maya people lived, right? And so they would have been living similar in kind of thatch roof huts like we stay in here, our guests stay in when they come. Um, and so a lot of the architecture and design is around that. Like, what are the materials that are available here? What are the materials that are durable to withstand a jungle environment? And that's what we've stuck with. So, we've developed these kind of signature limestone sinks that our guests love, and they're just carved literally out of solid limestone, and we turn them into sinks, and they're incredibly durable and beautiful and just fit the space. And so and then hardwood furniture, like stuff that would just be astronomically expensive back in the United States. There's abundant beautiful hardwoods here, and so we've done our best to utilize some of those natural resources and then just keep them here. So even some of the furniture in the dining room, for example, has been made out of trees that have fallen on our property, and we just salvage them and turn them into beautiful furniture for the dining room. And so, we're trying to honor the location that we're at and also do things efficiently and sustainably. So really that's what has driven the design and the architecture of the space.
And I love that you have taken these things into consideration, right? To keep made these efforts to keep the space connected to nature and environmentally sound. It is considered an eco resort. So what does that mean in practice? Yes, you just described it as far as the way that the architecture is done, but what does that mean in practice as far as staying on the space and the things that you do there?
Yeah. Um, Man, that we could talk a long time about sustainability for sure. Like, it's kind of a buzzword that's used in tourism, I think, and sometimes people are living up to it and sometimes they're not. But in our case, it really drives a lot of what we do um, because of how we approach really everything, and it's we're completely off grid. So there, in many ways, we don't have an option, right? We can't just run electricity all the time because it's just not readily available. So we get the majority of our power from the sun, and we get our water from the stream. The stream is originates from a spring inside of the reserve that we border. And so it's beautiful, clear water. And we use that for all of our bathing and toilets and sinks. And then we filter it and use a UV light to do our drinking water. And so just amazing water that we have. And then we're growing a lot of our own food. So we have hydroponic, aeroponic towers, 50 of them, where we grow a lot of our like green leafy lettuces and herbs and a lot of our different foods. And then we have traditional farming as well in grow beds and just out in the jungle. We just installed a new uh, irrigation tower so that we can pump water from the river and then water things year round. So we're expanding our farming operation. And so, all of those things kind of cut down on our footprint. And instead of shipping food in, we're growing it on site. Um, Instead of shipping water in, we're just pulling it from the stream.
Hmm.
Instead of burning a lot of fossil fuels, we're getting power from the sun. Even though water that's heated for our showers, there's a really unique method that we use where we get cohoon nuts. These are like a palm nut. It's maybe there may be like 3, 4 inches tall and a couple inches in diameter. And we dry those out and then we use them to heat our water. So we have little 1 cubic foot uh, boxes where we put these nuts in, and then we light them, and they'll burn for hours. We light 2 fires a day, and our guests have hot water all all throughout the day. And so that's a really unique way that we're adding to the sustainability of the resort. And then you add on top of that that we have 300 acres that we're protecting of a private nature reserve that's mostly just trails, and it's not just 300 acres, but it's 300 acres of primary forest. So this is forest that is a 500 plus year old ecosystem that from a a carbon footprint standpoint, we would be extremely negative on what we're putting into the environment versus what we're extracting, and then we're also helping to protect the 7,000 acres that are next to us. And so, yes, anybody who's interested in like sustainable travel, this is the pinnacle. Like we could be the poster child of sustainable travel. And then we add other things on, like we don't use single-use plastics and some of the little things that the other places do as well. But I think those are some of the more unique things that we've done to really honor the land and be good stewards of it.
Yes, and I mean, I can attest, I do feel like the amount of connection to just real things, right? You feel like, yeah, this actually came from the earth and now it's in front of me. This, there's that level of like you take away from the processing, you take away from just like you said, the outside world, you're completely off grid, which also leads me right into my next question. So, when we say this is a very off-grid resort, that sometimes gives people a little pause because of the lack of connectivity to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So some other retreat leaders, as well as people who want to come to the resort, may have questions, be curious, I should say, about connectivity. Can you talk about what the actual electricity and the Wi-Fi situation is like there? Can people work remotely? Things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, so all the rooms have electricity. They have fans and lights and plugs. They're normal plugs, like just like you'd use in the US to charge your devices and whatever else. We don't have Wi-Fi in the rooms, and that's by design. And people sometimes need to be prepared for that when they come. But we do have Wi-Fi in the main lodge. And so it's kind of, we tried to strike this balance where people can still communicate if they need to catch up on things, get some work done. But when you go back to your room, it's kind of this sacred haven space where you get to just be and be there, connect with the people that you're there with. And it really is interesting to see when people step into the space. Sometimes it's a little uncomfortable at first. They're used to ubiquitous Wi-Fi and being connected all the time. But after the first day or two, really your mind starts to let go of that, and you get this deeper level of relaxation that you just can't get when you're always connected and getting constant alerts everywhere you go. So I love that part of it. We've had pressure to change it from some groups, and I hope that we never do, because I think that it's just such an important part of disconnecting and investing in yourself.
Oh, I agree. And I feel like that is what honestly makes your space so perfect for a retreat. You are retreating, you're taking yourself away from all those levels of connectivity with, just enough for safety, enough for peace of mind, but enough separation to genuinely feel like you're removed from those things, from your emails going off. Um,
Yeah.
that is one of the reasons why, like I said, your space is great for a retreat. But what altogether makes Belize such a great place for retreats and healing and wellness travel in general?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Um, well, just logistically, I think that I'll start there. I know like Bali and a lot of these places are very popular right now for retreats. If you're traveling from the United States, that's a lot of travel. And so, you know, Belize, like right now we're on mountain time when daylight savings time switches right around the time your retreat is, we'll be on central time. So people coming from the United States are, maybe they're changing one to three time zones, um, and so they're not going to get a lot of jet lag. It's a quick trip. Many places have direct flights. And so those direct flights may be anywhere from 2 to 4 hours. If you've got to get a connecting flight, maybe it's 7 to 9 hours. So it's not this super long travel day. So I think that the accessibility of Belize is incredible. Um, the fact that it's an English speaking country is also I think really cool. So from a logistics standpoint, and then the money is pegged 2 to 1 to the US dollar. So if you're going to go out and buy anything, you can just spend your US dollars if you want. You don't have to swap for Belizean currency, or you can if you'd like to. But really easy exchange. So that's not necessarily on the healing side, but I think from a relaxation standpoint, if you know some of those logistics are easier, then it just feels easier to go on a retreat and invest in it without the long travel days and stressful logistics. And then just on Belize itself, it's such an incredible country. It's just been blessed with this incredibly biodiverse landscape and just the plants and animals. So, I mean, the space that we're in is a broadleaf forest, and it's like there's almost all the animals you'd find up in the United States, plus many more that you've probably never heard of. And like we have 300 different species of birds that have been identified on our property, and there are all five of the cats that are in the jungle. So you've got, from largest to smallest, you've got the jaguar and the puma and the ocelot and the jaguarundi and the little margay. Um, and then lots of other fun mammals that you might run into, like the coatimundi or agouti or paca, um, the peccary. Those are like little jungle pigs. So there's so many fun animals, and then the landscape is very diverse as well because of how Belize formed. There are a lot of cave systems. It has the most extensive cave system in Central America, and so the Maya people, the caves were very sacred to them, and so a lot of these caves had rituals or sacrifices that were performed in the caves over the times that they lived here, and there are a lot of artifacts in those caves. And then there's a lot of history on the surface as well. You've got all the Maya history of temples and cities that they built over the centuries that they lived here. So it's incredibly biodiverse. There's a ton of history, amazing landscape, very accessible. And then I would also say it's one of the most culturally diverse countries in North America, certainly in Central America. Um, but you've got the three different major Maya groups, the Kekchi, the Yucatec, and the Mopan Maya groups. And then you have immigrants that are coming from the surrounding countries. So quite a few from Guatemala and El Salvador, a few from Honduras and Mexico, some from the Caribbean. And then you've got the Mennonite groups. This is a group of like white people from the Netherlands and Germany that were persecuted and went to Canada and then eventually made their way down here in the 50s. And then you've got the Mestizo and the Creole people, which were like a mix between the Europeans that came here and then mixed with the natives or mixed with the African, native Africans. And then you also have the Garinagu or the Garifuna people, which were a group of slaves that were kind of they were on St. Vincent in the Caribbean and eventually made their way to Belize and inhabited the coastal area and the lowlands and have their whole own culture. So very culturally diverse, and um, there's just so many things to love about Belize.
And I couldn't agree more. I saw it with my own eyes, right? When we went to different places. And that's one of the things that I do also love. Like there's just so much to see and so much to experience, right? So I remember going to, which we are also going to go in the October retreat, and going through the caves, cave tubing, riding through, just being there and seeing how beautiful the jungle is all around you. But you see those carvings up in the up in those some of those spaces, and like just the history being told about what happened, how you went, how do we travel, what do we do. um the zip lining, taking you actually through the trees and experiencing that, hiking just on the property itself, right, experiencing what's available there, the bird watching, hearing the calls and having trained experts. Like hearing the calls, repeating them, getting the birds to kind of fly over and move, and watching those things, seeing a toucan, I think up close, as close as we're gonna get, right through that telescope, was just so cool. And there's so many other just like things like that, the little waterfalls, and just experiencing all of that nature, hearing the monkeys at night, right from your room. Like there are just so many little pieces of like having that connection to nature, and then also visiting the market, going to interact with the Belizean people, buying from them, getting the local snacks, getting the some of the freshest juices I've ever had in my life.
Hmm.
um those are, just things that I'm excited that to share with people when they come to Belize, and that is something that you just offer as a space that you connect to when people come to your resort anyway. Um, as far as the people, right? You really do. You and your family have really been intentional about being good to the people that you work with. Can you tell me and anybody watching more about your process when it comes to the concept of hiring and the way your staff lives in your space?
Yeah. Um, I think the easiest way to put it is that we're trying to invest in people and in the country of Belize, right? But more specifically people, because those are the people that then turn around and make a difference in the world. And I mean, our staff has become like family over the 2 years that we've lived here because we all live together on the property. And they'll go home to their families or different spaces, but we're always here. And it's been a lot of fun. We have kind of these leadership development programs that we run. We have like a book club, for example, and we just read important, great literature together, talk about it, and try and help educate our team to lift them up to the next level in their life, whatever that may be. If that's, building them up within our organization or helping them move on to something else in their life that's going to serve them even better. And it really is returning um, in a big way, that investment. Um, from a personal satisfaction standpoint, just seeing these people that I love developing towards their own goals in life, but also for the business, because then they turn around and treat our guests like gold. And that's like, if you go look at our reviews, that's why they're so raving, is because our team is so amazing and people just feel that warmth. We're also investing in the community in general, and we've supported the NGO that manages the reserve that we border. And so last year we sponsored a ranger salary to help protect that land, for example. And the rangers work super hard. They are some of the hardest working, most manly people I've ever met. They get out there in the jungle and for miles, doing whatever they need to do to protect the land and keep it safe from illegal logging and poaching. And so, yeah, we're just doing our best to be good stewards of the land and to invest in the community, to get to understand the culture here, and do our best to, embody the spirit of this place and share it with other people.
I absolutely love that. So bringing it to sharing it with other people, you mentioned that you really are passionate about wellness and supporting retreats like mine, or working with other wellness leaders. What does that process look like? A quick rundown.
When you plan a retreat with us or a group travel with us, we're going to handle everything from start to finish. So the logistics of figuring out how to get to and from the airport, you don't have to go somewhere else and figure that out. We're going to handle the transfers, accommodations, all of the meals, all of the activities. And so it makes it super simple. Basically, we give you a list of all the different activities that we offer. You choose which ones you want to do and how long you want your retreat to be. And we will put together an itinerary for you and price it out for you and even help you to market it with all of our visual assets and a booking page if you'd like. And it just makes it really simple. So that's our goal is, we know a lot of amazing people like you, Stacia, that are incredible yoga instructors or other practitioners, and they want to run a retreat, but they don't want to spend hours and hours doing logistics. They want to focus on teaching and loving their people and creating that healing space and environment. And so I feel like we're the best partner for those kinds of people because they get to focus on what they do best, and we get to focus on what we do best and just make it really easy.
Yes. And again, I can attest because I've had just it's a few back and forth emails. What is it that you're looking to do? We verified some things, and then it was a matter of just getting the page out. I feel like that was pretty straightforward, pretty simple. I have worked with other retreat planning companies, not necessarily just direct resorts as much, but
Mhm.
but I have had those conversations, and it's just a matter of sometimes it is pretty straightforward, but then you see like such a vast markup in price and then it becomes unreasonable. And I just feel like everything with you has been very straightforward, and I truly appreciate that as a person that has a lot of these conversations. Uh, because sometimes they can get a little confusing, it can get a little cumbersome, and it's like, no, I want this to be, like you said, as simple as possible so I can focus
Yeah,
on loving the people that are coming to receive that wellness, that treatment, that interaction with me. Uh,
exactly.
so, can you tell us more about? We were just talking about this before we started recording, but can you tell
Yeah,
us more about what Belize is like specifically in October, right at that season change, the weather, the energy?
yeah, yeah. October's kind of moody. It's like and I love that. Like the storms will roll in and out. You get some rain in October. You can just lay under the thatch in a hammock and listen to the rain on the thatch. And it's this time of year of change, like you were saying, where the migration of the birds is happening still. And so a lot of the birds are heading south for the winter. They all stop over in Central America to fatten up for a couple weeks before they head on to South America. And so I love that time. There's amazing fruit that's available during that time of year. The soursop is on which is not everybody's tried that fruit, and it's just a really fun fruit to try the juice or the cheesecake that we make out of it or the tea. Um, and so, yeah, then the water is usually in full force, right? Because it's well into the rainy season, and so you get the rivers and the waterfalls at full force, which is really fun.
Can you say more about the food? Because the food there was one of my favorite memories, like to this moment.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the food is probably the number one thing that people talk about in our reviews or as like in a conversation like this where it's been a while since they've been to the resort. Um, I mean, it's an experience for sure. Uh, Everything is made from scratch, and I think it's hard to overstate how that changes the experience, right? Like, like even just things as simple as making coconut milk from a coconut instead of coconut milk from a can. Many people have never had coconut milk from a coconut. They just always buy it in a can at the store. But we have fresh coconuts right down the road, so we make our coconut milk out of coconuts. And and so everything is like that, right? Our soup bases are made over hours of boiling and creating these soup bases rather than just pulling it out of a carton from the store. And so the depth of flavor, the variety of things that we serve, the freshness of the ingredients, we're either growing them on site or getting them from the local farmers market. And so it's just kind of next level. And I think especially in the US where we're used to ingredients that are shipped 1,500 miles and picked green. and sent days before and sit on the shelf, the nutrient density of that food is just lower. And so our bodies understand when they get this nutrient dense real food and it tastes different. And so it's this experience of like feeling so much abundance in what you're eating, because there's so much variety in what we serve and there's plenty to go around. So our breakfast is a buffet, and we do these rotating teas from the jungle every morning. So it might be allspice from our allspice tree or blue butterfly tea from our blue butterfly vine. Um, and so each day those rotate, and then we have a variety of other things that are just amazing. And then lunch is a lot of local fare, usually 5 or 6 different dishes in a buffet. And then the dinner is a 4 course meal. That's everybody's favorite. And we do a salad, soup, main, and then a dessert every night. And that's to lamplight, as you know. We don't have electricity in the restaurant, for lighting anyway. And so we just have these lamps. And so the ambiance, your circadian rhythm is just kind of calming down. It's just an amazing dining experience every evening. So I don't know what else I can say about it. It's hard to explain without fully coming and experiencing it, but it really is such an amazing experience to come here. And I can brag about it because it's my wife and our head chef Tanya that do it all, and I just get to love it and enjoy it.
Yes. And Tanya is so incredibly talented. Like
Oh my.
it's amazing.
So I literally think she's the best chef in Belize. And we've even had chefs like incredible, well-known chefs that have come here and are just blown away by her talent. So she really is just this incredible talent.
And no, and it truly is like a fine dining experience every night. Bold flavors, but like everything does, in fact, feel natural, feel very fresh, feel very handmade in a way that is completely appreciated by someone like me who lives in New York City, where everything is happening all the time and super fast.
Yeah,
You're always trying to, you're like, nope, sit and genuinely enjoy this and take this in. Like you said, that the ambiance of the dining area, especially in the evening, it's dark, in a very calm way, in a very let's just focus on this food, kind of
yeah,
way that we don't generally always take. Um,
right.
and I love it. I really do appreciate it. If there was something for you to say to someone who is thinking about either attending this retreat or just coming to Jade Jungle Resort and has a few apprehensions or some last thoughts, is kind of unsure, what would you say to them?
Oh man, I mean, I think sometimes the apprehension is like maybe they haven't traveled to a foreign country. We make it so easy. This is like if you've never traveled to a foreign country, make this your first experience because you don't have to worry about anything. It's going to be such an easy experience. We're going to hold your hand all the way through. If you're worried about the budget, like figure out how to make it work because it's worth investing in yourself. And there are a lot of things that we spend money on that are here today and gone tomorrow, but memories are really the things that are going to pay dividends for you years and years to come. And it's worth it. I mean, a lot of the reason why I came here and decided to really invest my whole life into this is because I was the kind of person that needed it and that didn't realize I needed it and that
Mm.
wasn't willing to invest in myself. And so I'm trying to create a space and a process and an offering that is so compelling that people are willing to do that and to get the word out through people like you who can help with their communities help people make that investment, right? Because I mean I got to a point in my career where I was so burned out and so up to my eyeballs that I couldn't even like feel things emotionally. I just was so shut off to the world and I needed something like this. And so do it. Like if that's you, if that's the way you feel right now, if you're like I was a few years back, make that investment and it's going to be worth it. You'll be able to see your life from a third party perspective as you step out of it and retreat from it and you'll be able to decide, am I headed where I want to go or do I need to make some changes and some adjustments? And you're going to go back with a new energy and a new vigor. And I know that if you're coming with Seisha, you're going to get just the most loving, warm environment for all your classes and the other people coming. And so it's worth it. Make the investment.
Perfect. And I really could not agree more. The retreat that I'm running in October, it's going to be from October 4th to the 10th. And right now we are looking at holding up to 12 people. So no matter what, it's going to be nice and intimate. You'll have your one-on-one time. We will have time to take up space. And there's so much space. You'll have the space to yourself. You'll have the chance to look at the different types of beautiful accommodations, right? The maybe you have a jungle view, maybe it's a boardwalk cabana, but you will be able to see just so much of the beauty there. And the smaller the group, the bigger the group, whatever it may be, it just gives us more time to find more connection with each other. As I mentioned, the as we both mentioned, the accommodations, the food is all included. We're talking breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I don't think I've been that full in my life. Um, and felt good about it, right? Like not because it's so great.
Yeah.
All the ground transportation to and from the airport, as well as to and from any of the activities, all of the excursions that I mentioned, the group classes, yoga by me every single day, but cave tubing, zip lining, hiking through the rainforest, bird watching, going to the waterfall. We are also going to have s'mores at the fire and just overall create amazing memories together. I could not be more excited to hold this retreat.
It's going to be awesome.
Absolutely. And then if you want to add on certain things, there are, the idea of adding on your massage packages, or, other smaller trips to the market, trips to just take the pool to yourself first thing in the morning if you want. You have a lot of things to enjoy here, and I'm excited to be able to bring people to this space. So, Lance, thank you so much for joining for this conversation. Overall, I hope that this gave you a deeper look into the magic of Jade Jungle Resort, right? And the people who make it truly feel like home. If you're ready to join us for this October retreat in Belize, the link is going to be available below. And we still have spots left, and you are so welcome here. We would love to have you be a part of it and experience this space for yourself. And if you're someone who's trying to plan your own retreat, you can contact Jade Jungle Resort directly. That information is also going to be down below. And any other questions that you may have, please ask them. We would both love to answer them and create any more clarity that we can provide. Thank you so, so much for watching. And Lance, thank you for coming on and sharing your story.
Yes, thank you. And for everybody watching, hope to see you in Belize soon.
Yes. All righty. Bye.